there is something about having a profound level of delivery where people just talk about the profound experience they had with you,
Yeah.
and it makes all
Yep.
this easier. Like I think a lot of times it's easy to think that we're good at that. Okay, this is brutal. This is a brutal thing to say, but it's a more true than what I want to. Like sometimes we think our stuff is really awesome, but then we don't have referrals coming in. And if it's really awesome, you will have referrals coming in,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
That's how that works. And it's
That's a big,
okay.
yeah, that's a big metric on how to gauge our successful piece. We think that the product, and this is, I think, where we get a little delusional at times. We
So
think the
easy.
product is the thing that we create.
Right.
But just like in what we call the NLP communication piece, where they say that communication is the response you get,
Yeah.
it's almost in the same aspect where success is measured in the response you get.
Success is
We
measured.
think we have a good product. We think we have a good service. We think that we're doing everything good, which on a lot of levels we probably are. But
Sure.
when we have that referral, and the referral comes to you in such a manner that, like I was saying earlier, they don't really care about the price tag. They want the result. That is your end product. The product isn't what you've built. The product is the result you get from what you built.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of things have been diluted, where you need to make a big product, you need to put it out there. That's all fine and dandy. And that's important. But the response you get, the result you get, the breakthroughs, the outcome, whatever, however you metric your or gauge your business, whatever metric you're measuring from, that's the big piece right there.
100%. Yeah. Dude. Dude, that's fire. And I like that you said, so here's the other thing with that brutal pill to swallow,
Yeah.
because I've had to deal with this a bunch. And sometimes you just got to evolve a little piece of it.
Yeah.
It's like there's this part here where they're confused or something's unclear. There's an expectation. They're literally, sometimes they're screaming. And when I screaming, I'm repeatedly hearing the same thing from folks.
Right.
And I just haven't addressed it because I'm like, that's not important. We get the, but it's, they actually, that's actually really important to them for some reason. And it's, we've got to address it. So it could be
Right.
like, what's a good example? One of the things I noticed with smoking cessation work is people were like, don't follow up with your smokers, make them reach out to you. And some of that's true, right? But the reality is, I think if those folks followed up with the smokers that they're assuming quit because they didn't reach out to them, they might not like those results. Like I would suggest they're probably more in line with traditional methodologies, and they're probably better than what you would see out there if it's a more advanced process.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
I bet a good portion of them aren't, because I did that and
Yeah.
I found out that people say, dude, I'm too ashamed. I felt so ashamed. I felt guilty. Hell, we tried it and it didn't work. Why would I do it again? These are the things that are going, and that's scary for me as a practitioner when you're new, because you're like, dude, I don't want to, I kind of want to, the illusion of it worked because they didn't tell me is comforting to an extent.
Like you said, to an extent, but if we're
Yeah.
always kind of holding our breaths, thinking, okay, when am I going to get that phone call to say that the outcome wasn't what we expected? That's where we're not facing that, which is problematic.
The
But
lack of referrals too was like the indicator,
yeah,
like, dude, if I'm really helping these people though, and they said they have family members that smoke and they're not coming to me,
yeah,
I was like, it's a problem. But that this is the best thing I ever did was go have those conversations, Kevin. It was like, because it's like this is not working. I started to piece together what they needed.
what a wonderful feedback loop to be able to see what can I improve on, what can be different. And that may be just on the individual level because that person is obviously very unique to the
Yep.
next person that we see. But as a whole, we can say maybe I missed this like little nugget here along the way of maybe testing it before the session was over, or talking a bit about processing, or taking some of that pressure off that
Mm.
session for the client too. You're definitely right with the metric of, or being scared if that failed, or if you want to use the word failed.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's also a wonderful thing to be able to check in. And yes, we've been told from numerous different places that if you call, and of course I'm going to paraphrase here, if you call or reach out to this person, you may break that session. You may
Yeah.
break that processing. You may break that progress that they were making. Not necessarily. I think it really depends on how you reach out. If you reach out and say, "Ooh, did you fail at
Yeah.
quitting?" Yeah, you may be throwing some stuff out there. But by gently checking in, I'm just seeing how you are doing today, how well your progress is. I'm very intrigued about what you are experiencing right now. And just as an investigative, curious practitioner, reaching
Right.
out and checking in. It doesn't have to be loaded with this, it's going to break the session or whatever.
Yeah.
We can go into it with a friendly and soft curiosity.
See, I love that. And because just to me, it's just a little bit more real. It's an approach grounded in reality.
It's
Um,
genuine.
yeah.
Genuine.
And here's the thing, like a lot of that taboo and fear around reaching out, at least for me, it was because I was approaching the subject as if I was going to do the magic to the person
Yeah.
versus giving them the space they needed to discover the resources within themselves to create the change. They're creating the change. So once I stopped thinking about it so much from the magic is in the words I say or the technique or the induction or the whatever methodology, once I started seeing beyond that, it because a lot of times that stuff would work though, Kevin. So that's where it gets confusing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So hey man, this is bought the last 6 times.
Yeah.
And then some of those will drop off too, right? Some of those will say, hey, I still need help. That's just the reality of the thing. But I would rather just approach it on the front end that there's going to be a certain degree of variance in outcomes. And what really matters is that we help you achieve the thing you want to achieve, not protecting, not drawing my confidence from a methodology so much, but rather starting to learn to trust my own unconscious mind. And then I think when you do that, and so when I say that specifically, my ability to grow and develop my skill set to actually be able to help people with what they're facing, um, not basing my help off of the methodology. No, I can just respond to your needs. I can observe and
Yeah.
learn. Once I started to approach things that way, a lot of that started to go away. It actually was, so I mentioned before, like it was one of the best things I ever did. Yeah, it made my content better because I was less scared to make a claim. I was like really cool. Like just everything got better.
Can I add to that?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Where you just said that you were, and I'm going to paraphrase here because my memory is really short,
Yeah, I talked.
that you were starting to trust your unconscious more. Also, what I've noticed with myself in this work, and of course, watching you do it, and I know you've said this in many different ways, many different times as well,
Yeah.
that not only are we trusting in our own unconscious, but we're trusting the unconscious in front of us.
Yeah.
We're trusting the unconscious of that person that we are speaking with, and knowing that the answers are already within, the
Right.
resources are already within, that their potential for change, that the ingredients for change, as you will, they're already within, and that us trusting ourselves as the tour guide and them trusting them, what we're doing is we're establishing a relationship with what they have going on with their unconscious, and we're able to help them see or navigate or whatever. Yes, like you said, there's a creation of space, but there's also something that's happening within that space.
That's it.
And the fact that we are trusting in ourselves to be able to navigate, that's a lot where they're making the change. We're witnessing the change, but we're also part of it. We're not manipulating the change, but we're definitely a huge aspect of it.
That's it.
And at first, that can be scary. Wow, oh,
It is.
it's such a dance. It really is such a dance. Now, we may practice a few moves of what that dance is, the twirls, the dips, the everything else, but there's a point where we become very familiar with that dance, and all we have to do is listen to the music and go along with that dance.
That's it, man. You nailed it. I think for me, it was a dialogic. There's got to be a simpler way to say it. I guess we can refer to it as like a feedback loop. So trusting the unconscious, right, is a thing. And then there's trusting yours and theirs. The learning about that took place at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's, oh, they kept saying this thing over and we went down that road. and they
Yeah.
said it with emotion or whatever the cue was, whatever my mind picked up on. And so that worked. And it's, oh, but part of me sensed that. And I knew it 13 minutes ago, but I decided to like try
Yeah.
to talk their hand up off their lap. I was like, well, this is weird. I just did it, which is awesome. Like that stuff. I love that stuff, Kevin. And I really
Oh,
changed.
absolutely.
I want to tell you, that's a separate point. I want to remember to talk about tools
Yes.
in it. But you're absolutely right, man. I learned to trust mine through observing theirs. And to the extent I learned to trust mine more, I started to listen to them differently. There's that old thing, I think Betty Erickson said Milton listened with his eyes.
Yes.
I love that, man. It's
Yeah.
And that's just one of the things he listened with, right?